Boston is one of the largest Catholic archdioceses in all of America. The cleric who leads it is almost by default going to be one of the most prominent Catholic leaders in the U.S. But when Pope John Paul II called Sean Patrick O'Malley to Boston 20 years ago, the archdiocese was in a state of crisis because of the clergy sex abuse scandal. Known as a fixer who had helped lead dioceses plagued by the scandal in other parts of the country, Cardinal O'Malley has become legendary over several decades for the role he's played in helping to heal the church and minister to the victims of abuse. In 2017, he took on an additional role at the Vatican as the president of the Pontifical Commission for the Protection of Minors. This fall, at the age of 80, Cardinal O'Malley became Archbishop Emeritus of the Boston Archdiocese. He spoke to our Monse Alvarado weeks after his retirement.
The call to go to Boston came on a very special day, came on your birthday.
I thought someone was calling to congratulate me for my birthday. No, it was the nuncio saying, Holy Father wants you to be in Boston before the end of the month.
Wow, that's a quick turnaround.
It was very quick.
And has Boston been good to you?
Boston has been a wonderful experience. It was very difficult. The church was in terrible shape, so much suffering, the victims of sexual abuse, the scandal around all of that, the discouragement of the priests and the people, but people stayed with the church and worked with us and helped us to, as you know, St. Francis's task was to rebuild the church, and this is the task that we have had, to rebuild the church and to try and do it, one person at a time. And we have been very blessed, as I say, that people responded, and at a time when the seminary was empty, and now 21 years later, I can say we've ordained 140 priests. This year we ordained 11. There are many signs of hope, and so Boston has been an extraordinary experience to see how God's grace works in people's lives, and even in the most tragic of situations, that God, He never promised it would be easy, but He promised that He would be with us.
Amen.
And that's what we count on.
Oh, you handed things off to the new bishop?
But it was a very joyful and beautiful moment in the life of the church.
And how do you feel passing that on, knowing all of these years and all of this change that has occurred in Boston?
It's very hard because you become so attached to people, and but I have the great joy of seeing that the church is in a good place, and that they're enthusiastically receiving a new bishop. That's so important in the life of the church. For us, the role of the bishop as being Christ's delegate, being the apostles in the church is crucial. And so to be able to, my installation was not that joyful occasion. And so I feel wonderful that we're at that place in our history where we can celebrate the arrival of a new bishop and look forward with hope.
I do want to talk about your service to the church in that moment, that first moment at Fall River.
It was at a moment of great difficulty in the life of the church there. There was a terrible case of pedophilia and that had not been handled, and so it was quite a shock, because as a Capuchin, I never thought I would be a bishop in the United States. In those days, there were very few religious bishops in the United States. But I spoke Portuguese. I'd had a Portuguese ministry in Washington along with the Hispanic ministry, so I thought, well, maybe that's why they're sending me. And so that it was a big challenge. When I arrived, one of the first things I did was to set up a meeting with the victims and their families. And the priest secretary drove me to this meeting, and when I got there and realized that actually it was a whole auditorium of people that had been affected by these crimes. Scores of victims with their families. And I said to the priest secretary, you stay in the car, leave the motor running. Because I didn't know whether I was going to be chased out of there. But having those opportunities to meet with the people that had suffered so much helped me to understand and to see the importance of this ministry in the church, to try and bring healing and make sure that the church is a safe place for our children and our young people. So it's been a very challenging ministry, but to me, one of the most important things that the church can do. And all of our other ministries can be compromised if we are not faithful in this area. And, we see how, children are so important in the gospel, and Jesus says, if you scandalize one of these little ones, it's better to have a millstone tied around your head and thrown into the sea. And Jesus uses the strong language to get our attention and to. So it was a challenging experience being with the people of Fall River, but I came really to love them, and there were so many Portuguese-speaking people there. It was a privilege, and took me back to my days in Washington, where I had a Portuguese parish, and from there I went to Palm Beach, where once again it was another tragic case of sexual abuse.
I hear that in Palm Beach, the first question you got at a press conference was if you too had been a part of the abuse.
Well, actually, I was replacing a bishop who had replaced a bishop, and both of them had been removed for sexual abuse. And so when I got there, the Vicar General said, well, you have the press conference now, and the first question is going to be, are you a pedophile? And so that was another very challenging place. But as I say, to me, this is one of the most important issues the church has to deal with. So, and after a short tenure there is when I was called to Boston, which was in the throes of a terrible sexual abuse crisis. And but as I say, so many people came forward who were helpful. So many people were praying. When I went to Fall River, one of the first things I did was to call Mother Teresa. And I said, you sent me sisters when I was bishop in the West Indies, and it made such a difference. And now I'm going to a diocese that's suffering so much because of sexual abuse and scandal. I said, the presence of your sisters would be a big help. And she immediately sent me sisters to Fall River. So it was a great consolation.
I have one last question. How does, for a man who has been bishop, cardinal, you've had all those great titles and positions, but you've said you're a Capuchin friar first. How does that define you?
Well, as for me, being a Capuchin brother is the most important part of my vocation. And the title that I'm proudest of is being a brother.
Brother Sean.
Brother Sean, and Friar Sean, Brother Sean. And in our community, we don't make any distinction in titles. Everyone is a brother, whether you're a priest or a bishop or a deacon or a lay brother. We are called to be, like Francis, a universal brother. And it's Francis's great awareness of the fatherhood of God that makes all of us brothers and sisters. Even creation, the song of the canticle of Brother Son, Francis sees all of creation as made by God the Father, and we praise God in all of creation, Brother Sun, Sister Moon, and certainly trying to be a universal brother in a world where there is so much division, so much prejudice, so much anger and war. And so these wonderful themes of St. Francis that inspired me as a young lad and continue to inspire me, I see them in the ministry of Pope Francis, and it's been a privilege to work closely with him and serve him in these last 10 years.
I love that. Thank you so much. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mons.
And your love of the church.
Well, God bless you. Thank you.